Okay, this is Stephen Marcus. I've got a set of 10 art examples, problems to work through, and they all work off of a data set that's already built into RStudio called MT Cars. It's information from Motor Trend. If I do question mark MT Cars, it tells me that it's just from Motor Trend magazine from 73 to 74. So there's our information. If we want to look back, I'm going to kind of drag this over here. First thing I want to do is to actually make me a variable. Uh, there we go. So there's MT Cars, and I've got, here we go. I'm going to click on this so I can see it as an example up in here. It makes it a little bit easier to deal with. And now that I've done this, I can pretty well just drag this out of the way and give myself some more room. So let's look at our first problem. Give the weight and gross horsepower in that order of the Fiat 128. Let's see if we can figure out the Fiat 128. Fiat 128. And I'm going to say comma to make it give me all the rows. So that does exist. If I just want the horsepower, I can do that. But I want two things. I want weight and gross horsepower of that. So if you want to pull out more than one column, you have to use a vector. So, and make sure you put each one of them in its own set of quotes. And have all your parentheses in there. There's my vector for my second argument. There we go. Fiat 128, and that's my weight and my horsepower. So that's easy enough for number one. Give the weight and the gross horsepower of the two Toyotas. Okay, there's a couple of Toyotas in here. The Corolla and the Corona. Let's see. Like I said, we can just use a vector to say Toyota Corolla and Toyota Corona. We got to give it what we want for rows, so we're going to just put a comma. There's the Corolla and a Corona, and if you've not seen a Corona, my grandmother had one, and that's a car now. We can also do something like this. MTC, do a vector, and give it the numbers of the rows if you just happen to know the rows. That's the same thing. And we can throw in a vector. What was it asking for? It was asking for the weight and the gross horsepower. 4,6. Was it 4 and 6? We can look over here. Well, you can look in either place. 1, 2, 3, horsepower and weight. Now it probably should be 6 and 4. 6, 4 to give me what I want. That's weight and horsepower. But honestly, it winds up being a little bit easier, at least in this example, to use actual column names to get what you wanted. Where did I goof? One too many quotes. Well, I just had them in the wrong place. That should make more sense. That gives us what we want. Okay. Give the average horsepower of the straight engines and the V engines. So that column is V's. Some of them, there's just two variables. You can either have a straight engine or not a straight engine. So what this is asking for is horsepower of straight engines and V engines. Okay. MTC. Let's say I want all the rows V's. That's my data, zeros and ones. Let's see if we can do MTC. And notice it gives me all of my columns there. Equals 1. That gives me my template that says some of these are true and some of these are false, and it's going to basically equate to the same thing here. And I can even save that in a vector if I want to. Okay, MTC, we're looking for, we're interested in horsepower and whether they're straight or V. So MTC V's equals 1. Let's see what that gives us. That gives us all of our information, which is handy because I could see that all of the V's are 1. Now, just to be cute, let's switch and give it a 0 to C. That's all the ones that are not a V, like a V6 or a V8. Okay, so that's handy to us. So all we need to do now is to get the horsepower of those with the average horsepower of straight and V engines. We said we wanted the straight ones. That would be a straight engine since it's not a V. And if I want just the horsepower, there we go. So now to get the average of all of these are basically the horsepower column. 110, 110, 175, 110, 110, 175. So yeah, that does make sense. I'm just going to use the up arrow, say mean. There's my average. That is for my straight engines, and then for my V's, I get 91.35. And you can see how that was pretty straightforward to do. Okay, find the average miles per gallon of cars with 4 carburetors. Let's find the ones with 4 carburetors. MT, I'm in the wrong, yeah. MTC. Let's take a look. I want MPG. And carb. There's my MPGs and there's my carburetors. Okay, I'm interested in the ones with 4 carbs. So the rows I want, we'll say that's going to be my columns. MTC, carb, equals 4. So that should have the same columns, but it should just have 4s over here. So there are my 4 carburetor engines. Okay. Find the average MPG. Well, to get that, I just have to leave out the, I don't really need a vector at that point. I do need that quote though. There. Just give me the MPGs. Now when I do that, it pulls off my row names, but that's okay. That's what I want. I want the average MPG. So now I can just do the mean of that, and I get 15.79. That's what I should be getting. The goofy thing here is we're actually looking up on carbs and returning the MPG column. And that's a little funky, but that's what we're doing. Okay, the next thing to do is to do an OR statement. We've got the 4. To do an OR, you pipe it. That's a pipe. I'm reaching above the return key with a shift, and that's a vertical pipe. So I can say MTC. Let's pull off some of this. Let's go back a couple more. Yeah. And it'll be easy to get the mean after that. MTC carb equals 2. We want 2 or 4. And the columns we want are MPG and carbs. There we go. So see, we do have 2s and 4s there. So that's good. And if I want to average MPG, again, I don't need a vector anymore. I just need MPG. So that's 2s and 4s. Put my comma back in. And there's that information. And now all I have to do is get a mean of those. I get a 19.095. That's what I'm supposed to be getting. Okay. Find the number of cars with 2 or 4 carbs. Well, we just got that. And we just need the number of them. So I'm going to say that's actually spitting out a vector. So to get the length of a vector, you use length. And that tells me that there are 20 in that set that we just pulled out. Find the average horsepower of cars whose horsepower is over 200. Okay. So how are we going to find all the cars with horsepower over 200? MTC. HP is greater than 200. I just want all the columns. There we go. So this is horsepower, and indeed they are all over 200. So I need to isolate this column and then get an average of those. So to isolate that, really all I need is HP. That's the column that I want, and it should start off 245, 205. That's right. So now I can get a mean of those, 248. So that's the average horsepower where the horsepower is over 200. Fastest car on the quarter mile. Okay, if I do MTC, we can use the min function. This is intentionally a goof here, but I'm going to show you the goof because it has some value. MTC of Qsec, that's quarter miles, how many seconds on the quarter mile? And that returns something, and I'd like to just go ahead and say, yeah, that's it. Fastest on the quarter mile is a Mercury. Let's go up here and check this. Where is Qsec? That's it. 14.5. It's not a Mercury, it's the Ford Pantera, and it's got a Qsec of 14.5, where this one has an 18. What went wrong here? What that actually did was spit out the row number. And then that picked the wrong row number. Anyway, that's the goof. Yeah, it went down. It got a 15. It returned, the minimum was actually like a 15. It was actually, yeah, it was that, and it got row number 14, which is a goof. Let's just do min of MTC QSEC. See what that gives us. That gives us the correct shortest time. So to get what we really want, MTC, where the minimum MTC, not dot, QSEC equals equals the minimum of MTC QSEC. Put a comma there. I got one too many. Yep. let's just, the rows we want are where the MTC equals this. That gives us the Ford Pantera. I was trying to stick that minimum in the wrong place. Let's look at it again. We're saying this column equals the minimum of that. And that is the fastest car on the quarter mile. And that gives it to you, and that's actually correct. Give the carb, weight, HP, and QSEC in that order of the fastest car on the quarter mile. Okay, if we've got that, actually that's kind of an easy problem. You just build your vector, and I'm going to say weight, and I wanted the carb first. Carb, weight, HP, QSEC. That's my vector, and it gives me just the little pieces of information that I want. Okay, the last one's a little bit harder, and it is find the 3 highest values for horsepower. Okay, if we do a MTC HP, we can do it this way. We ain't got to use the right symbol. There's all of our horsepowers. You see there's 150s and 93s, and one of them's 335, and that should look like the horsepower column. And I'm going to go ahead and cheat and just sort these. I can see what they're supposed to be. A Maserati makes sense, has the most horsepower. So that gives us an idea of what we're shooting for. If I order these, that's not the same thing, is it? I don't see the 335 of that Maserati anywhere in this list, but I do know that my list contained 32 observances. These are the numbers 1 through 32. These are the row numbers that it returned. Yeah, it picked the 19. It picked the 19 as of the first one, and if we say MTC 19, it actually winds up being kind of funny. The Honda Civic does not have, it's not one of the top 3 in horsepower. So let's do another order. MTC, HP, we're decreasing equals true. All right, so now 19's at the end, and now 31. Let's see what it is now. If we say MTC 31, comma, there's your Maserati. So that's how we're going to get it. The head, if we do, let's see, there's an order. If I want to do just the first 3, I can use the head function. If I just say head, it gives me the first 6, but I can give it an argument of 3, and it gives me my first 3. So I'm just going to start off from scratch. Head of MTC, order, MTC HP, comma, decreasing equals true, oh, I almost had it. Unordered columns selected. There we go. I left out my comma. So those actually are the 3 most with the most horsepower. Okay, there's your examples.